December 10th, 2025. 50 Cent reveals that he's sitting on 140 hours of unused footage from the Diddy documentary material that Netflix considered far too explosive to ever release. Soon after, leaked clips begin to surface, showing exactly what got banned, and what people see is absolutely devastating. The footage is shocking enough to explain why it was buried. Now, 50 Cent is threatening to drop everything on YouTube. These are the clips they never wanted the public to see. December 10th, 2025. 50 Cent is sitting on Sherri Shepherd's couch, fresh off beating Stranger Things on Netflix worldwide. The congratulations start pouring in, and Sherri casually asks about Season 2 when 50 suddenly drops the bomb. He says if they don't release it, he'll just put it on YouTube. That smirk on his face says everything. He's dead serious.
I want to congratulate you on your docuseries, Sean Combs, The Reckoning. It's #1 on Netflix.
Yeah.
Like, it's been #1 on Netflix. Did you actually expect it to be as big as it got?
I expected it to be bigger. It's actually exceeded my expectations now.
4 episodes. That's what Netflix allowed. But the documentary team sat on something else entirely, a mountain of footage that never made the cut. Material powerful enough to stand on its own without corporate gatekeepers deciding what the public gets to see. Everything couldn't make it. 50 explained on Sherri's show. It was only 4 episodes, so it was a lot. You had to pick and choose things. The editing room floor became a gold mine. 140 hours of raw footage, according to 50's own Instagram confirmation. When a fan video theorized about unreleased material, 50 responded directly, correct, 140 hours of footage, not there was 140 hours. Present tense, there is 140 hours, meaning it still exists, meaning someone, probably 50, still has it.
I think it was surprising that he actually filmed it.
It was very interesting to watch a man who's known for his brand presence. You know, he has a really amazing knack for marketing.
I don't understand why he filmed himself, 50 Cent said while talking about Diddy's self-documentation. But at the same time, he admitted he's glad he filmed himself. The implications hit different. Material this explosive doesn't need Netflix approval. It doesn't need careful editing, and it doesn't need legal department sign-offs. YouTube becomes the escape hatch. Direct to the public. No filters. Just raw truth. The people supporting him will be very quiet when more comes out, 50 warned. One example surfaced during the Sherri interview, something that simply didn't fit Netflix's narrative structure. He chooses to date people whom he knows previously dated someone. 50 revealed that Diddy has a baby by a woman who was dating Tupac. The revelation just hung there. Sarah Chapman, the mother of Chance Combs, born in 2006, was previously involved with Tupac back in 1995. A pattern 50 says he sees clearly now. A habit of targeting dead rivals' exes, making conquest personal even beyond the grave. But the footage exists. Commentary sits inside those 140 hours. Material that would have made this connection impossible to ignore. Netflix chose restraint. YouTube won't require it. Kim Porter's death in 2018 was completely absent from Netflix's final cut. The mother of 3 of Diddy's children. Her passing at 47. The conspiracy theories that followed. The documentary avoided it entirely. Too sensitive. Too controversial. Her children publicly rejected theories about their mother. Netflix respected the family's wishes, but questions linger. Unanswered elements of a story half told. And 50 may be holding answers inside that vault of footage. The Kid Cudi firebombing allegation, raised during the 2025 trial, was discussed heavily in the media. The claim that Diddy ordered an attack on Cudi's Porsche after a conflict involving Cassie.
And so here on the case, we'd like to take a little bit more time and focus on some of the things that the jurors saw and heard. So we want to talk about the evidence of Kid Cudi's car. Leather lined with gasoline, luxury, cayenne-colored seats coated black with ash.
Trial testimony laid out the Molotov cocktail, the failed ignition, and the forensic evidence in detail. Yet Netflix minimized this storyline, citing the lack of definitive proof, reliance on witness accounts, and legal liability concerns.
So this car was significant in many ways, David, because we saw it in the gallery and then the jurors saw it, because this is Kid Cudi's Porsche. It's the black one that was parked in his driveway in LA when he says that someone firebombed his vehicle. Let's go inside.
But 50 might release those witness testimonies anyway. YouTube operates under different standards than the major streaming giants. Then there's the 50. See beef itself, nearly 20 years of public feuding. Yet the documentary mentioned it exactly 0 times. Not a single acknowledgement of their rivalry. That silence reflects professional restraint from 50, keeping the focus on Diddy's alleged crimes rather than turning it into a personal vendetta.
What they consider a pre-existing beef, right, for 20 years, right, is me being uncomfortable with him suggesting that he takes me shopping, or I looked at it like it was like a tester.
It would have undermined credibility, making it look like a hit piece. Netflix demanded objectivity, but YouTube, that platform requires none. The personal history could actually provide crucial context for why 50 pursued this project so relentlessly. What they consider a pre-existing beef, right? As 50 told interviewers, for 20 years, it's been me being uncomfortable with him suggesting that he takes me shopping.
Went away.
Went away.
Car, I said, I feel like I need to wash, like I'm dirt. That was, it show you his character.
Was that the reason for including it?
Yeah, I mean, and it's, what's the odds that you would do that in front of the camera?
The Tupac murder deep dive documentary touched on it. It included Keefe D's confession, but it didn't go as deep as possible. More footage about alleged Diddy involvement sits unused. Additional witness testimonies, money trail documentation, the full conspiracy all waiting to be shown. Netflix chose careful presentation, avoiding liability and maintaining journalistic distance, but those 140 hours still contain material too hot for corporate comfort.
The goal of what the film is trying to do is to let the audience kind of come in to ask questions like, were their decisions colored by certain things, and who got the benefit of the doubt?
Time constraints on Netflix required choices. Editorial decisions had to be made about what advances the narrative versus what distracts. But YouTube removes those limitations. It can deep dive into each revelation without worrying about episode length or pacing. The white parties remain completely unexplored. Those legendary gatherings from 1998 to 2009, attended by everyone from Justin Bieber to Leonardo DiCaprio. All white dress codes, stilt walkers, pool swings. Diddy's representatives claim nothing inappropriate occurred there. But what does the footage show?
I think it's important to also let people know that the show is not completely the perspectives of people that did not like Sean. We weren't trying to just get the highlights, the salacious details, that the real goal was to storytell.
Cassie's testimony during the 2025 trial spanned 4 days of emotional revelations about alleged abuse, coercion, and recording without consent. The prosecution's star witness detailed how she took drugs to dissociate during freak-offs. None of that made Netflix's cut too recent, too raw, too legally complex. But trial transcripts exist, a public record waiting to be discussed without censorship. YouTube provides a platform for unfiltered examination of the testimony that helped convict Diddy on transportation charges. The self-filmed footage Netflix did use came from Diddy's own videographer, Michael Oberle, who later claimed a third party leaked the material while he was away. The actions of the parties involved reflect a lack of integrity every storyteller should uphold, Oberle stated.
Listen to me. I'm gonna get off the phone right now, and I am going to let you professionals look at the situation and come back to me with a solution. No matter what nobody said. Let's just here or there, y'all are not working together the right way. We're losing.
Diddy's team issued cease and desist letters, calling the documentary stolen footage never authorized for release, and threatened billion-dollar lawsuits. Netflix stood firm, claiming everything was legally obtained. But that battle proves how explosive the material truly is, and it's just the beginning. The footage that made Netflix already changed everything. Diddy calling for someone who has dealt in the dirtiest of dirty business to help with propaganda. Requesting hand sanitizer after hugging fans in Harlem. Private moments revealing a public facade.
Look, if I didn't say anything, you would interpret it as the hip-hop is fine with his behaviors.
But 140 hours remain. Testimonies cut for time. Allegations deemed too sensitive. Connections requiring more context than 4 episodes allowed. The full story of Sarah Chapman and Tupac. The complete breakdown of Kid Cudi's car firebombing. Every detail Netflix lawyers deemed too risky. The people supporting him will be very quiet when more comes out, 50 warned. Not a threat, a promise. Because this goes beyond corporate streaming deals and carefully edited narratives. This becomes about direct access, raw truth, unfiltered reality. YouTube operates under different standards than streaming giants. No legal departments requiring sign-offs. No corporate stakeholders worried about backlash. Just upload and let the public decide. December 10th, 2025 might mark when everything changes. When documentaries stop being limited by network constraints and start being conversations between creator and audience. When 140 hours of truth become accessible to anyone with an internet connection. 50 Cent sitting on the nuclear option. The full story, unedited, unfiltered, unstoppable, ready to drop whenever Netflix's version proves insufficient, ready to answer every question left hanging. The vault exists. The footage is real. Somewhere between Instagram posts and talk show appearances, 50 Cent made clear his intentions. This story doesn't end with 4 episodes. It ends when every frame sees daylight, when every allegation gets examined, when 140 hours become public record. That smirk on Sherry's couch said everything. The man who spent 20 years warning people about Diddy now holds proof. Not speculation, not rumors. Raw footage of the moments that defined a predator. And soon, everyone gets to see it. But Netflix only showed what they could because the stuff they left out was way too explosive. December 1st, 2025. The day before Netflix drops their documentary on Sean Combs, his lawyers fire off a cease and desist letter, threatening immediate legal action. The footage in question. Private moments filmed 6 days before his arrest, conversations with his attorney. Strategy sessions never meant for public eyes. Netflix's response: they're releasing it anyway.
Sean Diddy Combs have now sent a cease and desist letter to Netflix.
That's right. They are demanding it not release a docuseries featuring the embattled mogul.
But here's where it gets interesting. That footage Diddy's team is calling stolen. They say it came from a documentary project Diddy himself started when he was just 19 years old. Decades of self-documentation, every major moment, every conversation, every decision. The man filmed everything. He wanted to control his own narrative, tell his own story, and present his own version of events. The problem, he never finished it. And now Netflix has it.
You want to put the stuff in my fanny pack?
The exclusive video obtained by Netflix shows Combs debating with his lawyers about strategy.
The spokesperson went public immediately. We have confirmed that Netflix used footage that was never authorized for release, including private moments, pre-indictment material from an unfinished project, and conversations involving legal strategy that were not intended for public viewing. What exactly constitutes these private moments? Diddy's team is particularly concerned about footage showing Diddy alone in his hotel room, personal phone calls with his children, and moments of genuine vulnerability and fear. Anxiety attacks caught on camera. The human side. He spent decades making sure the public never saw it. One particularly revealing moment shows him in a vehicle after meeting fans.
Oh, fuck that. Oh, Lord, your way. I'm gonna wear it. Lord, your way. Be with it. I'll accept it.
I need some hand sanitizer. Hold on. I got.
The footage was shot September 10th, 2024, 6 days before federal agents would arrest him in Manhattan. The investigation was already underway. Diddy knew charges were coming. He was documenting everything, planning his defense strategy, and collecting material for what he believed would be his version of events. And the legal strategy conversations, those hit different. Phone calls with his attorney Mark Agnifilo, discussing how to manipulate media perception.
I don't want to have a life to be able to live. You know, it's really going to be hard for me to take more hits than I've taken. God forbid, get in front of a jury and have a chance.
Attorney-client privilege, that's the question Diddy's team is dancing around but not directly claiming. Because here's the thing, if a third party filmed it and that third party owns the footage, privilege becomes complicated.
I've listened. I've been a superb client, as you said. I jumped on the plane. I'm coming to New York, but I'm just like,
I'm just running around waiting for a shoe to drop.
I've listened, I've been a superb client, as you said. I jumped on the plane. I'm coming to New York, but I'm just running around waiting for a shooter to drop. Diddy's team argues this was an unfinished project. Material collected since age 19, intended for a documentary about his life that he would control completely. The project was never completed before his arrest, which creates the legal gray area Netflix is now exploiting.
Because you may just be a person that you just may watch CNN. So you at the wrong place looking to see what the people with the possible jurors are thinking.
The key phrase in their statement, no rights were ever transferred to Netflix. According to Diddy's lawyers, the footage was created for an entirely different purpose under an arrangement that was never completed. But here's where it gets messy. The freelancer who filmed some of this material had physical possession. And if Diddy never paid him, that changes everything.
And since you didn't watch it, Ebro, there's one piece.
I watched some of it.
Where, there's very intimate footage of Diddy with his lawyers. But in the documentary, it also talks about how he hired a young person to film him.
The cease and desist letter dropped December 1st, literally hours before the Netflix premiere. The language was aggressive. Mr. Combs has not hesitated to take legal action against media entities and others who violate his rights, and he will not hesitate to do so against Netflix. A clear threat, but Netflix didn't flinch.
A spokesperson for Combs accused Netflix of using, quote, stolen footage that was never authorized for release, and what they called a shameful hit piece. A statement from the docuseries director says the filmmaking team obtained the footage legally.
Why did the letter fail? Because Netflix is a multi-billion-dollar corporation with teams of lawyers clearing every single frame, every still photo, every piece of footage. They don't release anything without bulletproof legal clearance. Earlier in 2024, Diddy already tried this playbook. He sued NBC Universal for $100 million over their documentary Diddy, the making of a bad boy that aired on Peacock. The defamation suit is still ongoing. It established a pattern. Diddy sues when documentaries come out, but Netflix, they're different. Deeper pockets than NBC, better legal team, stronger evidence that they legally procured this footage. When you hire someone to film, but never pay them, never complete the contract, never secure the rights, that footage belongs to the person who shot it.
So if Diddy never signed paperwork, he was like, no, I'm gonna get you when I get you.
Yeah, that's right.
Now Diddy never gave him $1. Now Diddy went to jail. He's holding all this footage. 50 goes, I'd like that footage. All right, how much, bud?
Yeah.
Diddy's team called it fundamentally unfair and illegal for Netflix to misappropriate that work, using his life's work against him. Decades of self-documentation, meant to exonerate, now incriminating. But courts don't care about fairness. They care about who owns what. So, what did Diddy actually film? Everything, every major life event since he was 19. Studio sessions, parties, business meetings, conversations with artists and executives, personal moments with partners, arguments, celebrations, and apparently crimes. The narcissism of documenting everything, believing he'd control the final version, never thinking it would destroy him instead.
I think it was surprising that he actually filmed it.
And 50 Cent, he confirms they had way more content than they could use. For episodes couldn't contain everything, which means there's more footage sitting somewhere, waiting.
Yeah, well, everything couldn't make it was 4 episodes.
Right.
So it was a lot. You had to pick and choose things, like even in an area where he chooses to date people who he knows previously dated someone.
Some wondered if Netflix held back certain material deliberately, topics too sensitive even for their legal team to touch.
Well, that's why I wonder if certain things were left out because of Netflix not wanting drama. Like, we were talking about this yesterday, Ebro. Like, how did he not include any of the stuff and rumors about Kim Porter's death?
December 2nd, Netflix released the documentary anyway. Diddy's team can threaten all they want. The footage is out there now. Millions have watched it. Michael Oberle stepped forward December 10th, calling himself Sean Combs' documentarian. He'd been working on a project profiling the mogul for over 2 years. The footage everyone's fighting over, he didn't release it. Someone else did. The footage in question was not released by me or anyone authorized to handle Sean Combs' materials, Oberle explained. It was by a third party who covered for me for 3 days while I was out of state. 3 days. That's all it took for decades of self-documentation to slip through Diddy's fingers. But Oberle added something else. This incident had nothing to do with any fee dispute or contract issue. So if it wasn't about money, what was it? Oberle called it unethical, taking footage intended for one project to advance a narrative that wasn't his own. But legally, Netflix cleared it. Teams of lawyers reviewed every frame. The third party had possession. The transfer was legal. And now it's public record. Combs' team keeps threatening that lawsuit, the same threat they made against NBC Universal. The $100 million defamation suit still pending. The pattern established. Threaten everyone, sue some, win none. But this time is different. This footage isn't allegations. It's not accusations filtered through interviews. It's Diddy's own words, his own strategy, his own admission that he needed someone who has dealt in the dirtiest of dirty business to manipulate public perception. The man who filmed everything to control his legacy just gave the world the unedited version. Every private conversation with his attorney, every moment of desperation, every strategic discussion about managing media narratives, all of it captured by cameras he wanted there. Netflix released the documentary December 2nd. Millions watched the stolen footage playing on repeat. Diddy's own voice damning him in ways prosecutors never could. And no legal threat can change what's already been seen. The cease and desist letter mentioned Ted Sarandos by name, referenced the legacy of Clarence Avant, trying to make it personal as if invoking family connections would make Netflix blink. They didn't. Because when you're serving time in federal prison, when you're facing dozens of civil suits, when your release date just got pushed back, your leverage disappears, your threats ring hollow, and that documentary project you've been filming since age 19, the one meant to cement your legend becomes the very evidence destroying it. The footage was created for an entirely different purpose under an arrangement that was never completed by someone who had physical possession when that arrangement fell apart. And now it belongs to the story he never wanted told. Diddy's lawyers can file all the motions they want. Netflix isn't taking it down. The footage stays public. The documentary remains streaming because in the end, the man who documented everything to control his narrative just proved he never controlled anything at all. And just when it seemed like the Netflix fallout was the end of it, something far bigger was already being lined up. December 11th, 2025, 50 Cent's Netflix documentary drops worldwide, racking up 40 million views in 2 weeks. But here's what nobody saw coming. 50 is already sitting on 140 hours of unused footage. And he's not taking it back to Netflix. He's going straight to YouTube. No corporate oversight, no content guidelines, no mercy. This isn't just round 2. This is the nuclear option. The Netflix documentary gave us a glimpse. For episodes, corporate lawyers reviewing every frame, standards and practices cutting anything too graphic, time constraints forcing 50 to leave the most damaging material on the editing room floor.
I think it was surprising that he actually filmed it.
It was very interesting to watch a man who's known for his brand presence. You know, he has a really amazing knack for marketing and all of that, and how he was sort of taking that into account in how he was coming off to the public.
But YouTube, that's a completely different battlefield. No network notes, no censors telling him what he can and can't say, no corporate legal team sanitizing the message, just receipts, testimony, and whatever 50 decides the world needs to see. The chaos this creates is unprecedented. Netflix operates within carefully established guidelines. They have reputations to protect, shareholders to answer to, standards to maintain. YouTube has none of those constraints when it comes to user-uploaded content. First, there's the access issue. Netflix requires a subscription. That's a paywall between the content and millions of potential viewers. YouTube's free. Anyone with an internet connection anywhere in the world can watch immediately. Second, shareability. Netflix content stays locked inside their ecosystem. YouTube videos spread like wildfire across every social media platform. Clips get extracted, remixed, shared, and discussed everywhere, from Twitter to TikTok. Third, and most importantly, 50 Cent controls everything. Release schedule, content decisions, editorial choices, all his. Netflix operates on their calendar. YouTube operates on whatever schedule 50 wants. He could drop the entire 140 hours tomorrow or piece it out strategically over months.
The exclusive video also shows Combs in Harlem greeting fans.
Oh, launch your way. I'm away. Launch your way. Be with it. I'll accept. I need some hand sanitizer. Hold on. I've been out on the streets amongst the people.
That moment in the Netflix doc where Diddy greets fans in Harlem then immediately asks for hand sanitizer. That's sanitized compared to what 50 is promising for YouTube.
I feel like I need to wash, like I'm dirt. That was, it shows you his character.
Was that the reason for including it?
Yeah, I mean, and what's the odds that you would do that in front of the camera?
Gannett Film and Television would produce independently. No corporate partner to answer to. No distribution deal limiting what can be shown. This is 50 Cent operating completely autonomously, with full creative control over material that could redefine how we view the entire Bad Boy era. The legal consequences? He's apparently prepared to face them. But here's the thing, truth is a defense. If 50's sitting on actual evidence, testimony from credible witnesses, documentation that prosecutors didn't use at trial, what exactly can Diddy's legal team do from inside a federal prison? The producers have been vocal about what got left out of Netflix. Material that will shut everybody up, he says. Revelations shocking even to people close to Diddy. Evidence making current supporters go very quiet. Serious allegations that were too graphic for a streaming platform trying to maintain mainstream appeal. Witness testimonies that prosecutors chose not to use, not because they weren't credible, but because they weren't needed for the specific charges at trial.
What they consider a pre-existing beef, right, for 20 years, right, is me being uncomfortable with him suggesting that he takes me shopping, or I looked at it like it was like a tester.
For years, people wrote this off as beef. Two rappers with egos clashing in the public eye. But 50's always maintained this was bigger than personal grudges. This was about accountability. The Netflix documentary touched on Keefe D's confession. It mentioned Eric Von Zip. It showed the money trail from Diddy to potential killers.
Yeah, I can see how Pac felt like they had something to do with the setup, man. But speaking of Puffy, right, how do you feel about the rumor that Puffy, he gave a guy named Eric Von Zip a check for $1 million to give to Keefe D to kill Tupac?
What the documentary didn't show, the full extent of Zip's involvement, complete financial records, testimony from people who saw the check, heard the conversations, and knew what was really happening behind the scenes.
I mean, it's all f***ed up. It was a setup. It was a plot to murder my brother. I feel f***ed up about it. I don't know that nigga, but I ain't got no love for none of them. Straight up.
The emotion is real. The pain is decades old, and 50's reportedly sitting on hours of additional testimony that paints an even more detailed picture of September 7th, 1996.
Syke was a Crip. Syke was an IVC Inglewood Village Crip. And he hung around. Syke would be around other Crips. So that's how,
Those gang connections run deeper than what made the Netflix cut. The Crips, the Bloods, Bad Boy, Death Row, it's all allegedly documented in those remaining hours. Suge knows what happened that night in Vegas. He was in the car. He survived while Tupac didn't.
Puff and Suge had a conversation behind the House of Blues about was we all right, and Tupac was alive.
That conversation behind the House of Blues while Tupac was still alive. If the war was real, why were the CEOs talking peacefully? Sui's version of what was said, what was agreed to, and what happened after could completely reframe how we understand the East Coast, West Coast narrative. 50's allegedly sitting on prison interview footage with Suge that never made the Netflix cut. Raw, unfiltered, potentially devastating.
Well, it wasn't no East Coast war, bruh. It wasn't no East Coast war. And I don't believe that Mark Curry know this for a fact.
Kirk Burrows knew Biggie wasn't supposed to leave New York. Big ain't going nowhere, he told People on Thursday. By Saturday, Biggie was dead in Los Angeles. The Netflix doc showed Burrows' journals, his meticulous notes from inside Bad Boy, but only excerpts, only what fit into the 4-episode structure. 50's reportedly sitting on full journal scans, complete records of conversations, decisions, and warnings that went unheeded. Wolf Jones was Bad Boy security from the beginning, one of Diddy's original financial backers, and he refused to go to LA without proper protection.
Wolf had already told, Anthony Wolf Jones had already told them, if you're not taking two tour buses of my niggas from the Valley, that's Co-op City in the Bronx, the Valley in the Bronx, if you're not taking these 2 tour buses of my niggas out there, I'm not going.
When security says they need protection to do their job and that protection is denied, consequences follow.
Wolf ended up losing his life behind Puff and his bullshit. And people they didn't even put that in the documentary.
That accusation that Wolf ended up murdered because of Diddy's decisions is heavy. And if 50's got the full story, complete with testimony from people who were there, it could be explosive. Then there's the personal abuse. The allegations that went beyond professional misconduct into darker territory.
I am just in trauma-based mode right now. I wake up ready to solve all the problems of the day and I go to sleep and I wake up and do it again.
Aubrey Day's interview revealed the ongoing psychological toll. Years later, still processing, still trying to understand what happened to her.
Yeah, they have incredible numbers. I first want to say the producer, director Alex Stapleton, she is one of the most incredible women I have ever worked for. I think maybe as a woman you'll understand this statement.
The affidavit she read in the documentary described a witness seeing her unconscious while acts were performed on her. She doesn't remember. She's not sure she wants to, but the testimony exists, documented and consistent.
Do you believe Sean Combs sexually assaulted you?
This is how I've started to process this piece.
That hesitation, that inability to fully confront what might have happened, it speaks to trauma deeper than public scandal.
Before I answer that question, I want to tell you, I forgive myself. That was the hard one. Because when you don't grow up getting approval or you're not loved properly in your childhood, you're ripe for the picking, especially if you've had hard parents.
That moment of self-forgiveness she describes came after years of processing trauma she didn't even know existed. The Netflix doc showed her reading an affidavit describing an alleged assault. But there's reportedly more testimony, more witnesses, more documentation of what allegedly happened at those parties.
I don't think that matters to the bigger picture. I think that he needs to do the work to forgive himself.
If 50's got additional testimony from other women who experienced similar situations, who witnessed similar assaults, the YouTube release could trigger a new wave of victims coming forward. Here's what makes YouTube fundamentally different from anything that came before: permanence. Netflix content cycles out. Shows get removed. But YouTube, once something goes viral, it lives forever. Clips get ripped, reposted, turned into TikToks, embedded in articles, shared across platforms. The Netflix documentary reached 40 million people in 2 weeks. But a viral YouTube moment that reaches hundreds of millions, gets dissected frame by frame, becomes part of internet culture permanently. The psychological warfare is intentional. Diddy's in federal prison, serving his time, knowing that somewhere out there 50's got material that could reopen investigations, spawn new lawsuits, turn public opinion even further against him. He's serving his time right now, federal prison in New Jersey, release date May 2028. If he serves his full sentence, that's 2.5 years of knowing that at any moment 50 could drop everything. Every day wondering, is today the day? Every week checking to see if YouTube notifications are blowing up. Every month knowing that his legacy, his empire, his reputation are all sitting in someone else's hands. And there's nothing he can do to stop it. No legal avenue to prevent the release of material that was obtained legally. No way to issue takedown notices on content that doesn't violate copyright or community guidelines. No corporate entity he can pressure because 50 is producing independently. NDAs don't protect you from criminal activity. If someone witnessed a crime and signed an NDA about it, that NDA is legally unenforceable, which means anyone who attended these parties, who saw things happen, who stayed silent because of contractual obligations, those obligations evaporate the moment criminal behavior is documented. 50 Cent dropping names on YouTube, that's career ending for people. That's lawsuits. That's potential criminal charges for anyone who participated in or facilitated trafficking, assault, or abuse. The silence from other celebrities becomes deafening when you understand the stakes. Speaking out means admitting you knew. Staying silent means complicity. There's no safe position when the evidence drops publicly. December 11th, 2025. No release date announced, but 50 Cent's sitting on 140 hours of unused footage, and everyone in hip-hop knows it's coming. The question isn't if, it's when, and how much damage it'll do when it drops.